I'm delighted that Janice Updike Walker has agreed to talk to me about her creative strength training experience. She and I have become friends, and I have watched her blossom from someone who was already very, very accomplished and prolific into somebody even deeper and richer, and a delight to know. So thanks for being with me today, Janice.
Oh, thank you for the compliment, Jane, and you're one of my favorite people to talk to. I'll talk to you anytime.
Okay. Well, to set the stage, why don't you tell us a little bit about what your background was, and how art commingled with that?
I spent many years as a fundraising professional. I'm now retired, thankfully, but I worked primarily with nonprofit organizations raising funds for large capital campaigns. So I have I've had an opportunity to work with some of my area's most generous people.
Cool.
My art has been a part of me in that journey. But now that I'm retired, I can fully devote my time to my art and my family and travel.
Mhm.
Except we're not traveling much right now, are we?
Oh, we're really not. And more specifically, you work with beautiful vintage textiles.
I do. I do. Um, I love vintage textiles for many reasons, and those are long stories we'll save for another time.
Or
But um, I learned to embroider from my grandmother, and my work now is contemporary fiber collage using vintage fabrics and embellishing it by hand with embroidery.
Mhm. And they're beautiful. Well, so what about CST? What got you interested in creative strength training?
Oh gosh, I think meeting you was a synchronicity. I first became aware of Carolyn Mace's Sacred Contracts when her book first came out over 20 years ago,
Mhm.
and it hopped off the bookstore shelf into my hands, and I became totally fascinated with it, and have really been working with the archetypes and trying to look at them through the lens of my life and the lens of other um, the the lens I look at other people.
Mhm. Mhm.
So when I was introduced to you, when you first came to Tulsa with your exhibition, Quilt Not a Quilt,
Mhm.
your artist statement hooked me immediately because we speak the same language about wanting to elevate what is traditionally known as women's work
Mhm.
from a lower level of acceptance and really move it up to high craft and fine art.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, with that, you and I started talking about archetypes, and I don't think we've quit since.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think so either. So what has your experience been like what was it like in 2020, as a member of the CST community?
Well, in 2020, 2020 was my second year in the CST community, and I'd previously been working with a small group of women here in my city. We would meet once a week, once a month, and go through the materials and actually create art together, which was great fun.
Mhm.
Um, then March came and COVID hit, and we're all on our own. And you made lemonade out of lemons when you decided to put everything on Zoom. And I've really had an incredible artistic breakthrough um, from the work that we've done this year with CST, and also being able to bounce ideas off of people from around the world
Mhm.
in the Zoom chat groups. So I think my art has moved ahead by leaps and bounds because of 2020.
Mhm. Yeah, we keep finding, pearls among all the wreckage, I think. Uh,
Yes.
and that's really what we set out to make happen to the best of our ability, because one of the things that we talk about in CST is the fact that if we can control anything, we can control our reaction to the world around us. And sometimes that takes a great deal of creativity, and we're cultivating that all the time.
Yes.
So is there a particular thing that stood out to you or out for you this year in particular?
I think for me, it has been, first of all, having the time to create and not being pulled away by other obligations. We can think of the things that we missed in 2020, but then we can think of the gifts that we were given.
Mhm.
And I was given time. And so that allowed me to devote hours uninterrupted during the day
Mhm.
to to my embroidery work, and it also just put me on a track to really, really create a series, which was the focus this year.
Right. Cool. And will that series continue?
Interesting question. There's probably one more kimono, at least in my Seeker series, but that series is going to be set aside, and we're going to revisit, you and I, one that we've talked about for a long time, which is matriarch.
Mhm.
And I think where I thought originally there was going to be one piece that would speak to my matriarch archetype, I now see a series of pieces.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
creative strength training has helped me think that through and begin to plan it out.
Mhm. Excellent. Well, if we had someone sitting here who was kind of thinking that they wanted to participate, but they weren't quite sure, they didn't really know anything about archetypes, they might even feel a little bit threatened by that because they don't know much about them. I can, you know, I can talk till the cows come home because I'm the guide. But what would you say as a member of the group to somebody like that?
Well, here's my experience. As I moved out of the professional world and went into retirement, I decided to take every art class that I could possibly find so I could develop a broader language about how to create my art. And I think creative strength training has really provided that for me because I get to be with people who create differently than I do: painters, jewelry artists, quilters, potters, sculptures.
Mhm.
Um, and those aren't my mediums, but I learn from them the process that they're going through and their process of figuring out from start to finish is usually the same as mine.
Hmm.
So, with that, not only have I developed a resource of people that I can call and say, help, I don't know what to do with this,
Neat.
but I've also developed a broader understanding of art in general.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things to underscore is that we've got this thread of archetype stuff that a lot of people don't know that much about and find really fascinating once they get into it. But then there's this whole other aspect that is definitely about the creative process and art. And we look at all kinds of techniques in various ways, and we've got such a diverse group.
Yes.
And it really gives us a chance to see what people are doing and learn from each other in that way.
I think you're really right, and I think one of the things that I would say in encouraging other people to consider CST is I wasn't a trained artist. I wish I had been, but I wasn't a trained artist, and so therefore to become an artist in my own craft, I had to seek out other people who knew things that I didn't know,
Mhm.
and the um, the forum of CST has provided that in a really easy, non-threatening, very safe way for me to take baby steps into things like photography,
Mhm.
not my skill, but photography, or learn more about composition. Again, not my skill, but I'm learning. Um, Color, et cetera, et cetera. So with that, this is the most accepting group of people that I've ever been around, and there's no way that anybody feels like they are in the first grade playing art.
Mhm. Well, I really appreciate your taking time to talk to me today. Is there anything that you were thinking you'd like to say that we haven't touched on?
I just want to say thank you for continuing this, and I'm really looking forward to next year. Through 2020, I've been highly creative and produced, and I'm just looking forward to kicking it up to a much higher level this next year.
That's
So thank you, Jane.
very welcome. Thank you. And thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
Good to see you.